no peace, no racism, police, hands up, don't shoot, hands up, don't shoot, hands up, don't shoot, hands up, don't shoot, hands up, don't shoot. Say her name, say her name.
See what we got. See what we got. See, this is what we're talking about right there.
Yes, sir. I am the organizer of it.
Have you ever experienced racism or discrimination in your community?
Yes, all of the communities I lived in. Go back to my freshman year of high school. I was playing baseball. I was the one black person on a 45-man roster. It was 44 white people. They called me a nigga every day. They would hand me ropes and say, "You forgot your necklace." And I was told I was supposed to be good at raking the field. Every pos I've been called out my name while playing in South Carolina. Here I done dealt with stuff in Delran and Riverside. They won't even let me protest here. They threatening to kill me.
Like, how long ago was the last time you can remember experiencing?
Well, we just seen it right here where we have people yelling out "All Lives Matter" and revving their cars and whatnot, being very ignorant. That literally 5 minutes ago. Like I said, I made this protest up with Sunday? No, actually Monday, Tuesday morning. I've gotten multiple death threats. I got people that live on this street that told me, "How dare you walk through my neighborhood and disturb my peace? How about you go to a place, back to your own town, go to Willingboro, and where there's real racial inequality." First of all, Willingboro is a black town.
I have unfortunately seen racism throughout my life in different places across the country. I know Delran's got a great community, but like anything, the biggest room in the house is the room for improvement, and I think that's what this is about. I have seen institutional racism in terms of people, trying to get hired, get jobs, not necessarily government jobs, but there has been instances of racism in town, and not just in Delran, but across the region. And we have a good town. This is a good, solid people, a very diverse town, and a town that comes together. And I think that's what we're out here doing today, is getting the whole town together and getting these voices heard and starting that conversation.
Personally, I've definitely experienced racism, and in the community, I've seen plenty of it. I mean, personally, my first experience with the police was when I was 8 years old, right? I was at my grandmother's house in New Jersey, right here in Newark, and somebody had called the police officers on us playing in the neighborhood because they had thought one of us were playing with a gun or a toy gun. Regardless, that wasn't the right thing to do. But anyway, once the officer had came up to a bunch of 8-year-old kids, right? He goes and he says, "I got a call, someone has a fake gun," goes to unholster his gun and points it at 8-year-old kids, 8 and 12-year-old kids in the neighborhood. So imagine that being your first experience with police, you know what I mean? And that was just number one, right? Imagine being that your first experience with police.
That's crazy.
And then you go to school. I come home from my grandparents' house up in Newark. I come back here because I grew up in Delran. I went to this school, and you're told okay, these guys are your friends. You should be happy they're here. You should feel safe and protected. As a child, that's a wild experience. I mean, I can think of just yesterday, right? I had experience with a group of friends yesterday where I was told to back up because someone was kind of intimidated or scared of me just because of how I looked, but they didn't tell anyone else to back up. It was just me personally. So, I mean, and I'm kind of shaking right now because I'm still processing it, and it's embarrassing to tell these stories because you just want to be treated normally.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You just want to be out here and be considered like everybody else. You don't want to be special. You just want to be treated equally, so to speak.
Yeah, when I was younger in Borough, I would just walk into the corner store real quick, and one of the cops pulled me over because I had my hoodie on, and he just said I fit the identity of this whatever dude did something wrong, and I had to get him back to the car. I didn't know what was going on. I was 12 at the time, so as a kid, you're supposed to listen to adults, and a cop, best role model you could think of. So went back there, I don't know, I went to the station for a bit, had to come back home, told my parents. They started a riot, but we didn't do anything because, you know, looking like us, we can't really do much. And then the most recent one, it was not too far, right at the Dollar General down here. I was having a bad day, not gonna hold, I was crying a little bit. And I was in my car, not speeding nothing. Cop pulled me over, and because my eyes were red from tearing up, they saw I was smoking weed, told me to get out the car, threw all my stuff out on the ground, put cuffs on me and told me to sit in the corner. And never told me why I got pulled over. Till this day, I don't know why. But yeah, just like I said, it needs to stop right now. Like, kids should not be going through this. I shouldn't be going through this. No one should be going through this, no matter your skin color, race, religion, no matter what.
Yeah, because I came from Newark, New Jersey, and I moved down to Center Missing in high school. And sophomore year, I went to my locker. They put a monkey on my locker. So I didn't really know what to do from there, because at that point I knew I wasn't safe. So I decided to take it up to court, have the authorities deal with it, because ever since that day I never felt safe in my own school, not even my own community. You just trying to look past it like it never happened, but this is everyday situation. We gotta really stop it, because these kids nowadays, they be like, oh, why can't I say the N-word, or why does it still offend you? It's just a word.
Have you ever personally witnessed racism or discrimination at all?
I think other than on television and some of the outrageous things that we've been seeing, especially lately, I haven't personally been in a situation like that. So you know, as it always happens, you know, until you're impacted immediately, or you find that it's enough's enough, it's time. And there's a quote, and I'm gonna misquote it, but the gist of it is that until the people who are not directly impacted by something negative like racism, until they start to act, then it's never going to change. So I think that this event and this day and these unfortunate circumstances hopefully will be the catalyst for change.
Thank you for listening to me today. Please take the time to meet someone new and shake their hand. But the events in Minnesota and the loss of a king named King George will give you a little taste of why we are here. King George, he was a king. He was a king. Emmett Till was a king. Everybody that had passed away through brutality, police brutality, or racial injustice, they were kings and queens. We know. Woo! Everybody, you seen it? But how about the ones that aren't named? The ones that we don't know about? Those are just the ones that made the news. It's important that you understand that when we say Black Lives Matter, there is a long history that led us to these words. So I'm proud and thankful that we have so many young people here today. And I hope that you feel empowered by this event. I hope that you will unlearn some of the things that you may have been taught and use your newfound power to stand up to the narrow-minded. Call them out. Teach them what you know, because you guys are the future. It is you who will make these things change, for better or for worse. And please, while you're on this journey, do not forget what brought you here. Our history is a measure of the past and assurance of a future. Now, to these young people's parents, thank you for bringing your youth here today. I really appreciate that. Yeah. For you, if you want to continue to make changes besides these kids you're sending out into the world, make changes in the voting booth. Start locally. Use your privilege to elect officials who are willing to do the hard work that make marked changes in our community. Take it from there to a national level. Elect a leader who is focused on change and not division.
Yes, like we come from these small river towns and it's not very diverse here. Me as an Asian, well, like half Asian, half white, half Asian, personally I've gotten some like interesting comments, some ching-chongs. Once I was in the gym and someone's like, oh, you have some very nice chink eyes, but I don't think they understood that was racist to say. So yeah, there's like a lot of side comment racisms in our small towns here. A lot of people don't, I think, realize they're being outwardly racist, but they just don't have the experience with a diverse community to realize like, hey, this might actually affect someone, or this is like makes someone uncomfortable. I know my dad, when he's going around, he again got some ching-chongs or hey Chinaman, and he's just like, what? Like, what are you talking about and stuff? But thankfully, that's all really I've experienced. But again, if you look online, or in the news, on Facebook, on TikTok, you see racism like happening everywhere, small bits and like huge amounts, like while we're marching here today. So yes, there's racism in our community and around.
Absolutely. So I actually went to a predominantly white school. So I had a teacher in, I want to say 6th grade. Her name was Miss Dixon. My grandmother had come for Grandparents' Day. And when I say she went and greeted and shook hands with and showed love to every other parent in that school, to the point where even I at that age knew something was wrong, my grandmother had to go introduce herself to her and say hello and, you know, show me class and how you respond in a racist situation like that, especially when it's so microaggressive. So that's probably hands down the most impactful and the first time I really realized the community that I was in and that my parents were paying taxes towards and all that good stuff didn't really support me. Say about 6 months ago, because I actually stopped shopping here. So JFK and Willingboro, I've spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars there on different hair products, you know, makeup, everything. And one day I was in there, I had no bag or backpack. I had picked up some hair because I wanted to feel the texture of it, and I opened the bag just to feel it. And as I was putting it back, the shopkeep actually ran around the corner and snatched it out of my hands as if I was going to steal the hair and like stuff it in my pocket. So I actually have not been back there to patronize their store since. So about 6 months ago was my most outright racist act towards me.
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Yes.
I actually have a friend of mine who's going to become a doctor currently, and before she went to the review board for the pre-medication, she had to cut her hair, long dreadlocks and everything, change her whole appearance to be essentially more white, because the whole review board was old white men, and she had to appeal to those, just erasing her own culture in a sense to become, you know.
When I was in high school, the cops pulled my friends over and accused them of being gang members because they made rap music.
I was gonna say the same thing in high school. You know, like a couple teachers I would feel like would just like gang up on certain kids in the class that were like African American.
Yes, being Hispanic, first of all, and growing up in our town, but also predominantly dating black men my whole life. People didn't like that too much. Yeah, well, when I was younger, I was, you know, called an N lover, things like that. But also my son is half black, so, you know, growing up for him.
Yes, I have, especially when I was a lot younger. How you doing? Especially when I was a lot younger. I had a friend of mine, a black friend, we were in the Marine Corps together, and he was, we were walking into a store together and they asked him to leave. So we both left. There was a few of us there, and I was the first time that I really felt his pain for that. And we remained friends up until he just passed away about a month ago. But he was a good friend, and I felt that then. And of course, I see it every day, and there has to be a change.
Yes, I mean, I experience it all the time, you know. People of color get looked at sideways. People change, you know, to the other side of the road when walking, and I personally think it's appalling, and that's why I'm here. I see it at my job all the time, and that's why we're here. It needs to stop. Well, I actually didn't grow up in the States, so racism the way it is alive in the United States is just mind-boggling to me, and I never experienced it before. And when I moved here, you know, I still cannot find the words to explain it to my family who lives overseas. And they think I exaggerate when I tell them about how well and alive racism is in the United States.
Sadly, yes. I don't think it's the majority of people, but there is there are a lot of problems we need to talk about. As a Latino woman, a lot of times people don't know that I necessarily represent a minority population, and a lot of it is very casual, accidental racism, and that's the kind of stuff I'm really looking to stop and looking to be more of an advocate for. And just this past week, the death threats to people's lives, the KKK reaching out to us, all the agitators, we know that we are actively working against racism, and that's what we're here to do.
I feel like I wrote this from a personal place or something. I don't know. Let's make it count though, for real. Yeah.
No peace! Oh my God! No peace! Hands up!
that cheered us from the streets, thank you. To everyone that brought us water, thank you.
I really mean that.
Still coming. Our unity is going to change this town, is going to change this county, is going to change this state, and it will change this country.
2 months ago, and tells me, Mom, I gotta give up my studio in Philadelphia. And I said, why? You've been working hard for this. Because there was a white tenant there that told him he didn't belong, who made him feel like he shouldn't have been there because he was black. It's 2020. Enough is enough.